One of the results that came back from the usability studies that we were doing was regarding the tactics module. We felt that we needed to do something more football-based and make it easier for people because the sliders were confusing people. So the system that we came up with, and we worked very closely with the community on this, there's the Tactics Forum at SI Games website forum has some incredibly clever people on it who would go in and analyse every single slot on every single one of the sliders. But everything is football based. So when you're setting up a tactic, you have a nice short few steps that you have to go through where you choose your mentality, where you choose whether the team are going to play fluid or rigid football, and you can set up individual instructions very easily for each of your players. So rather than just having strikers, midfielders and defenders, you're able to set box-to-box midfielders or advanced playmakers for the midfielders, deep-lying playmakers, defensive style midfielders. What it's essentially doing in the background is adjusting the sliders for you. These are presets. So rather than taking hours to set up tactics, it now takes a couple of minutes to set up a tactic and to set up a much more advanced tactic that you would have been able to do previously. And then inside the game, rather than having to go to the tactics screen each time you want to make a change or move a slider up one notch, there's over 20 touchline shouts inside the game. It means that if you have noticed that the opposition, maybe the fullbacks are playing quite narrowly and you want to exploit the wings, all you've got to do is press a couple of buttons and it tells your players to go and play wider. There are also extreme things you can do, such as pump the ball into the box, which gives massive long kicks into the box and hope your tallest striker actually gets onto the end of the ball. You can also make quick substitutions from these areas and other quick tactic changes. But again, if you want to go into the tactic screen and go and do things in more detail, you can do. If you want to give individual instructions to substitutes coming on, you can do. You can also do substitution team talks now as well. So if you're substituting a player and you want to G up the player that's coming on, that's nice and easy to do from the tactics screen. One other addition to the match side of things this year is a match analysis tool, which allows you both inside a match and after a match to analyse every pass, every shot, every tackle that both your players and your opposition players have made. This is the kind of information that managers get after games of football, and they will sit there and look and watch to find out where players have gone wrong. It's an important addition to the game for people to be able to do that as well and really be able to analyse not just how their tactics are working, but also how the individual players are working with those tactics. So it's definitely a feature for the more advanced user, but hopefully people will get some kicks out of it and see it as something that helps them improve alongside the backroom advice that they'll also be getting from their coaches. With the backroom advice module, it's basically a way for people to discover quite how deep the game is whilst making it incredibly easy to use. You get advice on all kinds of areas of your squad and your tactics. The assistant manager will even go to the kind of level of telling you that you're conceding most goals between 15 and 30 minutes. So maybe you have to look at changing something in your tactics at that point to get your players' concentration up. They'll also recommend to you players that you should be looking at signing. They'll recommend staff that you might want to consider taking on to improve your backroom staff. They will give you information about players' happiness and maybe needing to praise a player if the player's feeling down, advice on when you should be offering players new contracts, what kind of training the players should be doing, what kind of things you should be asking the players to learn how to do. It highlights lots of areas in the game that we don't think are used enough by people because maybe they've been quite complicated in the past to use. How good the staff are will determine how good their advice is going to be. One area of the game that we've had massive differences of opinions of from the community and the people doing the usability studies has been the news inside the game. Some people want to be completely immersed inside the game world and be getting news and information about leagues around the world and players around the world. whereas others literally just want to know about their club. So there were lots of debates going on exactly how we dealt with the dichotomy of people wanting both, wanting their cake and eating it. So we've just made it completely customisable, really. You start off the game with what we feel are the minimum settings of the kind of news that you should want to be getting. But you can then subscribe to news on any player, any club, any league, any competition, anywhere in the world, and be getting news on those directly to your own personalised newspaper and edit those at any point. One of the things that our community have been asking us for a while is a competition editor, so that they can actually add new leagues, new levels of existing leagues into the game. Now, we already provide 50 countries leagues inside the game, which is quite a lot. I think there's 170 odd divisions that you can play as, but there are people out there who want more. So who are we to refuse them that right? So we've been working for a couple of years on a competition editor, which does what it says on the tin. It allows people to add new countries' leagues, and it also allows people to add new divisions to existing leagues and new competitions to existing leagues. You can also change the format of the Premier League or the A-League or any division if you want to, but to do that, it's a little bit more advanced, the kinds of things that you need to do. We've seen people setting up countries' leagues in a matter of minutes. We've seen people adding more levels to the English divisions, for example, in about 20 minutes, half an hour. And we have some of the best data editors in the community actually helping test the data editor. And that gives them a bit of a head start, because that means they'll actually be able to provide new competitions on day one. So any competition that you edit inside the game, you can make available to download, and people will, I'm sure, be going to a lot of the unofficial FM and SI websites to go and get these downloads. We know of a bunch of divisions that people have got ready to go. It's certainly a lovely new feature, and one that lots of people are going to have a lot of fun with. The game feels a lot more cohesive than ever before, because the improvements just give a much slicker experience. The speed of the game is much quicker. It's the best game that we've ever made in the 17 years that we've been releasing games. I'm incredibly happy with it, and I'm very confident that we're going to give people the best Football Manager experience they've ever had.
Time stands still. Now it's your team's colours filling the air, and it's you holding the cup. You who did what no one else could have done. Football Manager 2010.